Hello my friends, we are back on Luminar Neo and today we are going to edit this image. It's a long exposure image I took yesterday at Portland Lighthouse. I will show you the original. We'll take this image from this to this. Again, this is what we started with. This is what we'll end up with. So let's see how we edit this image. First, I would like to go to Action, Revert to Original. And there is our original image. If we go into catalog, you see I took this with my 7R Mark IV. I used the 24 to 105 millimeter lens and it was 138 second exposure at f8 at 24 millimeter, ISO 100. So it was a really long exposure. Let's go into editing and we will start with the crop. I do not like having this corner vignetting here. This is from my ND filter. I was using a 10-stop ND filter. So let's go into the crop and I am just going to crop this. Let's see, I'll move it around. I want the lighthouse to be on this line for the rule of thirds. And also we have to make sure that our horizon is straight, which it is. And then also I do not want these rocks here on the bottom to pick in. I feel like it's distracting, so I'm gonna crop a little bit more from that side as well. And let's see, I am pretty happy with that. Click OK to accept the changes. The first thing I like to work in is the sky, and then we'll work on these rocks and so on. Now here is a problem that I ran across. I don't know if Luminar Neo people are aware of this. But you see, I'm in the develop raw. This is still a raw image. The only thing we did is cropped it so far. And let's say I want to darken the sky. Well, if I go to develop and I want to put a gradual filter or something onto my sky, let's say I want to take down the exposure, but I want to mask it only on the sky, I do not have any kind of masking tool in develop raw. So I cannot use this because I cannot mask this effect only in the sky. So I will revert it back to original. And the way to go around it is to first apply a different filter, and that will make it so it's not a raw anymore. And then you can go back to develop and use masking. So for this example, I will just add some enhance. I will add some accent. And now that I did that, my develop is not raw anymore. So now when I open it, masking appears again. And develop raw, you do not have masking, and I don't know why that is. So I like to use a linear gradient to bring some drama into the sky. I am going to drag this down just like that. And I am going to take down the exposure. Just about this much. And I also want to mask with erase a little bit of this lighthouse because I do not want this to get darkened. And I will show you why I didn't just do a mask AI to select the sky. I will show you that in a second. All right, so that looks good to me. The reason why I didn't just select the sky is because if I go and develop and I go to masking and go to mask AI and try to select the sky, it just does not do a good job, so I would rather do it manually. You see, if I click on the sky, it's thinking there it is. The masking, it's not good at all, so I will still have to end up doing manually. So I'll reset this. We worked on the sky a little bit. There's a lot more work to do there, but for now, let's take care of some exposure issues. For example, I have a lot of light coming into this corner, and I do not want my viewer's eye to, wander out of the frame. So I want to darken this. For that, I will use a linear gradient and I will just drag it here. First, I'll make it pretty feathered and then I'll go to adjustments and take it down. Then I will get out of develop, go back and develop and make another one, linear gradient. This time I'm going a little bit tighter and I'll take that down. We'll go back, we'll apply one more linear gradient just over here and we'll take the exposure down a little bit on that as well. There you go. The next thing I want to fix is this bright rocks over here. They're too close to the edge of the frame, so I would like to darken them a little bit. So with the develop, I will go and use a radial gradient And I will squish it down to make it the shape of my rocks, something like that. And then I will invert it. If you're not familiar with masking, the red overlay is where your effect is happening. And I will take the exposure down a little bit, maybe take down the highlights too. And then I'll get out of develop, back into develop, do another one, the same radial. And this time I'll just go a little bit closer to just the edge, something like that. And I will invert it, go to adjustments, and take the exposure down a little bit. Great. Another exposure problem I have is these rocks over here. They're just a little bit too bright. So I will go to develop. I will go to masking. I will take a brush and I will paint just over here on these rocks. Just like that. And then in adjustments, I will just take the highlights down a little bit. There you go. And that looks better. We fixed some of the exposure problems. Now I would like to add a little bit of structure to this rock over here and this lighthouse. So I will go to structure and add some structure, and with the mask I will just use a brush and just paint a little bit over here on the rocks, and then maybe just over the house here. There you go, something like that is good enough. Next thing I want to do is go into landscape and add some golden hour. You know what, before we do the golden hour, let's make sure we have a correct white balance. So I will go and develop and use the white balance picker and click on this lighthouse because I know that was supposed to be white. And now we can go into landscape and add some golden hour. Golden hour landscape is one of my favorite tools to use. Now things are looking great. It still seems a little too bright, so I want to add a vignette. But before I add the vignette, let's go into color, and I'm gonna go into luminance of the blues, and I want to bring those blues down to create a little bit more drama, something like that, and I like that a lot better. Great. Maybe I'll even go into saturation and desaturate a little bit those blues. I like that desaturated skies. There you go, something like that. Now I do want to apply a vignette, so I will go to the vignette tool, choose subject, and I'll place it right here on the house, and then I'll take the amount all the way to -100. I'll make the size small, I'll adjust the roundness, something like that looks good. Then I'll put the feather all the way to 100 and then take the amount to what it looks right to my eye. For this image, maybe around -11. You don't want to have an obvious vignette, so it has to be pretty feathered and not a lot of it. That is looking better. Let's see, so far we started with this image and we are here. Takes a long time to, okay, there you go. Great. Maybe the exposure is just a little bit too bright still. Let's see if we take down the exposure a little bit. I think that makes it a little bit moodier, a little bit nicer. And then let's see if we can add even maybe a little bit more contrast. So I'll go to develop and I'll go into the curve tool. And here I will just add a slight curve, something like that. And you know what? It is too saturated. I will reset this, and what I will do, I showed you this in a different tutorial. I will duplicate this layer, so D to duplicate the layer, and now into the develop, into the curve tool, I will create the same S curve. Takes a little bit to update. There you go. And that is too much, just a little bit, something like that. And now we have this like super saturated colors. You see, this is the before, this is the after. But what I will do, I will go to layer property and change the blending mode to luminosity, and now we are only adding contrast and not color. There you go. And I think I want to lift the blacks a little bit. I'll go back and just lift the blacks a little bit, so they're not too dark. Now, one other thing I would like to do is go back to my original image, and I want to make these reds a little bit more red to pop. So I'll go into colors and I'll go into saturation and increase the saturation of the reds. And I think that looks better. Again, let's see our image. This is the before and this is the after, before and after. And I think that looks much better. I feel like this is a great candidate for black and white image. So if we would convert it to black and white, it would look something like this. Very high contrast kind of black and white. But that's not what we are going to do today, so we'll keep it into the color. I hope this was helpful and you learned some new things. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Skyler Ewing, and I will see you in my next video.